Have you ever thought about where all your pictures, videos, and messages go? They don't just float in a cloud. They live in giant buildings called data centers. These data centers are filled with hard drives, which are like super-powered filing cabinets. But we are creating more and more data every single day. Think about it. Every selfie you take, every video you stream, every email you send, it all has to be stored somewhere. We are running out of space, and these data centers use a tremendous amount of electricity to keep running and stay cool. It's a big problem. So what's the solution? We need a new way to store information, a way that is smaller, lasts longer, and uses less energy. What if I told you the answer might be inside you right now? Yes, I'm talking about DNA. DNA is nature's very own hard drive. It holds the blueprint for every living thing, from the biggest whale to the tiniest ant. It's incredibly good at storing a massive amount of information in a microscopic space. Just imagine if we could use this amazing natural technology to store our digital world. It's not science fiction, it's science fact. Scientists have been looking at DNA for years as a potential storage solution. Why? Well, for a few very cool reasons. First, it is incredibly dense. This means you can pack an unbelievable amount of information into a tiny, tiny space. Theoretically, all the data ever created by humans could fit in a space about the size of a large suitcase if it were stored in DNA. Second, DNA is unbelievably durable. Under the right conditions, data stored in DNA could last for thousands of years, far longer than any hard drive or CD, which can degrade in just a few decades. Think about the possibilities this opens up. We could create archives of all human knowledge that could last for millennia. Libraries, historical records, and even our personal family photos could be preserved for future generations in a format that won't easily break down or become obsolete. This is a fundamental shift from our current methods, where we constantly have to move data from old technology to new technology just to keep it safe. DNA storage offers a store it and forget it solution that is stable, secure, and incredibly efficient. It's a whole new way of thinking about data preservation. Now you might be thinking, Bill, how do we get our cat videos onto a strand of DNA? That's a great question. A team of brilliant researchers led by Xingyu Zhang in China has developed something truly remarkable. They call it a DNA cassette tape. Now hold on. This isn't the kind of cassette you used to make mixtapes for your friends in the 80s. You can't pop this into an old boombox. This cassette tape doesn't store sound. It stores digital data, the ones and zeros that make up everything on your computer, encoded in the language of life itself. This experimental tape is a game changer. A single 328-foot-long roll of this special tape could hold the same amount of data as over 3 billion songs. Compare that to an old audio cassette, which could maybe hold about 20 songs at most. The capacity is just astounding. The prototype tape that the team created could potentially store 36 petabytes of data. That is the equivalent of 36,000 1-terabyte hard drives. Imagine taking a whole data center, a building the size of a warehouse, and shrinking all of its information down onto a single, compact roll of tape. That's the power we're talking about. So what is this tape made of? It's a special blend of polyester and nylon, materials that are strong and flexible. But the real magic isn't the tape itself, it's what's on the tape. The scientists didn't just slather DNA all over it. That would be messy and impossible to read. Instead, they took a very organized approach. They used a sophisticated printing technique to create a pattern of barcodes on the surface of the tape. These barcodes create millions and millions of tiny, specific locations, kind of like a super detailed map or a filing system with millions of folders. Each of these tiny barcoded sections is an address where a specific piece of data can be stored. This is incredibly important because if you just have a big jumble of DNA, finding the one picture or document you're looking for would be like trying to find one specific grain of sand on a giant beach. With these barcodes, scientists can go directly to the right spot on the tape to write a new piece of information or read an old one. It makes the whole process organized, fast, and efficient. It's a brilliant way to manage all that data. Let's dive into the science. It's awesome. First, we have to translate our digital information into the language of DNA. Your computer stores everything as a series of ones and zeros. This is called binary code. DNA, on the other hand, has its own 4-letter alphabet, A, G, C, and T. These letters stand for its chemical building blocks. So scientists created a system to convert the binary code of ones and zeros into a specific sequence of A, G, C, and T. For example, 00 might become A, 01 might become G, 10 might become C, and 11 might become T. Once the digital file is translated into a long DNA sequence, tiny droplets containing these custom-made DNA molecules are placed onto the specific barcoded spots on the tape. The barcode tells the system exactly where the data for Grandma's birthday photo is located. To prove this worked, the team took a digital image, converted it into DNA, stored it on their cassette tape, and then later retrieved it. They read the DNA sequence, translated it back into binary code, and voila! The original image appeared on their screen, perfectly intact. It's a complete cycle of writing and reading data using life's code. But wait, there's more. DNA can be fragile if it's not protected. Things like water and air can cause the chemical bonds to break down, which would corrupt our precious data. To solve this, the scientists gave the tape a suit of armor. After placing the DNA on the tape, they coated it with a special crystalline layer. This protective coating, made from something called a ZIF, acts like a shield. It seals the DNA in place and protects it from the environment, ensuring the information can be stored safely for a very, very long time without needing electricity or a climate-controlled room. This is one of the biggest advantages over current technology. Today's data centers are incredibly fragile. They need constant power, complex cooling systems, and protection from things like floods or fires. With this DNA cassette tape, you could store your data on a shelf and it would remain safe. When you need to access the data, a machine can dissolve a tiny part of the protective layer at a specific barcode, read the DNA, and then the layer can even reform to protect it again. It's a durable, stable, and reusable system for long-term storage. Consider it. So, what does all this mean for us and for our planet? The impact could be enormous. Let's talk about energy. As of 2023, data centers in the United States were already using over 4% of all the electricity in the country. With the rise of artificial intelligence, which requires even more powerful computers, that number is expected to skyrocket. This puts a huge strain on our power grids and contributes to climate change. Some people have even seen their home electricity bills go up because of the energy demands of new data centers being built in their area. DNA data storage offers a much greener alternative. Once the data is written onto the DNA tape, it requires zero energy to maintain. Think about that. You could store exabytes of data, that's 1 billion gigabytes, without a constant power supply. The only energy needed is for the initial writing process and for when you want to read the data. This could drastically reduce the carbon footprint of our digital lives, freeing up massive amounts of electricity for our homes, schools, and hospitals. It would be a huge step toward a more sustainable technological future for everyone on this planet. This technology isn't just about saving energy. It's about preserving our digital legacy in a way we never could before. Imagine a global music archive that stores every song ever recorded on a few DNA tapes, ensuring they are saved for thousands of years. Or a family history vault where you could store all your photos, videos, and documents, creating a time capsule for your great-great-great-great-grandchildren to one day discover. This technology could change how libraries, museums, and governments preserve our collective culture and history, making it more permanent and accessible for future generations. While you probably won't be swapping out your phone's memory card for a DNA stick just yet, this technology is pointing toward an incredible future. It shows us how we can work with nature to solve some of our biggest technological challenges. By learning from the elegant and efficient system of DNA, we can build a better, smarter, and more sustainable world. The DNA cassette tape is more than just a cool invention. It's a glimpse into a future where our ever-expanding digital world can exist in harmony with our planet. And that is truly a scientific idea worth celebrating.